Hello and welcome. This is an International Business Plan presentation for group number 11 in the Management 328, Section 5 at the Anderson School of Management. Our group consists of Bethany Buckner, Stephanie Rowe, and I'm your presenter, Andrew Mwithy. Our presentation considers and explores the feasibility of establishing Target in Africa in the capital city of Nairobi, Kenya. In summary, we recognize that Africa presents emerging economies that demand increased consumption of goods and services. The world has focused on sustainable living methodologies, which gives Target an opportunity to learn in the field in ways of implementing such methodologies. Traditional, formal, and informal institutional barriers have eased somewhat. It would also give Target first mover advantages, and we would be able to leverage a well-educated young managerial labor force. Target has the resources to put these capabilities in Africa, and this would begin legitimization of Target as a global brand. Kenya is about the size of Texas in about 582,000 square kilometers. They do use the metric system. The region of Kenya is in East Africa, bordering the Indian Ocean, Somalia on the east, Ethiopia on the north, Sudan on the northwest, Uganda on the northwest also, and Tanzania on the southwest. The languages spoken are English and Swahili, and numerous indigenous languages. Swahili is the common inter-ethnic communication language. English is the official business language. Industries include small-scale consumer goods such as plastics, textiles, and cigarettes. Agricultural products constitute the majority of GDP income as cash crops, tea and coffee. Natural resources are not very much, but limestone and soda ash are some examples. Major exports are tea and coffee, as well as horticultural products. Major imports include machinery and transportation equipment, as well as petroleum and motor vehicles. Their currency is the Kenyan shilling, and the GDP as of 2011 estimate from the CIA World Factbook is around 72 billion, adjusted for purchasing power parity. Our goals and objectives for this presentation is to propose a market entry into Africa. We will establish a pilot store program in Nairobi, Kenya. This pilot store will collect and provide additional data that would be used on the feasibility of a continent-wide expansion. We will focus on the specific urban market of the capital city of Nairobi and exploit incentives in the Kenya Vision 2030. We believe that the market exists now that we can leverage as an opportunity to offer differentiated and quality consumer products. Excess inventories after year end or when products reach end of life cycle here in the United States, some of this product excess inventory can be used as a base product for sale in Africa. We would exploit the port of Mombasa, Nairobi, a well-established global port, and to provide warehousing locations for imports, as well as the railway, which provides scalable costs, which go down with demand. The government has also committed to the railway infrastructure, which highly improves our logistics capabilities. Now, why enter Africa? Africa has and is composed of emerging economies for the most part, and this represents a growing potential market for retail goods in urban areas. Globalization as well as technology have led to more efficient global logistics. Democratization continues and is maturing, and this means that economies are seeking to expand. World focus on improving the standards of living in developing economies or countries through economic incentives is another reason why Target should explore this particular opportunity. Africa could also provide goods for export by Target, being a resource-rich continent. So why choose Kenya? As you can see here in the background, the port of Mombasa borders the Indian Ocean, and Nairobi, being in the middle, is connected through an established railway, and both have established international airports. The Kenya Vision 2030 was an act of parliament that was a new long-term development blueprint for the country. The vision of this strategy is to transform the country into a global, competitive, and prosperous country with a high quality of life by 2030. It is based on three pillars, namely the economic pillar, the social pillar, and the political pillar. The enablers and macro pillar encompasses undertaking reforms in 8 key sectors to form the foundation of society for social, political, and economic growth. There's a macroeconomic stability for the long-term development of infrastructure, energy, technology, innovation, land reform, human resource development, as well as security, public sector reforms. As well, we recognize that Kenya has established and cooperative formal institutions. English as the business language of communication goes well with our established language here in the United States. Nairobi, or Kenya as a country, represents a regional trade and political center with a relatively stable democracy. Furthermore, the Vision 2030 established a range of tax treaties and investment promotion and protection agreements. The Constitution of Kenya guarantees protection of life and private property. The Foreign Investment Protection Act guarantees against expropriation of private property by government, and Kenya is a signatory and member of the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, an affiliate of the World Bank which guarantees investors against loss of investment to political problems in host countries. Kenya is also a signatory of the International Center for Settlements of Investment Disputes, which is a channel for settling disputes between foreign investors and host governments. In addition, Kenya participates in the Generalized System of Preferences, which affords the movement of goods and services, import and export between emerging economies and the developed countries. As I have established before, an act of parliament which put forth the Kenya Vision 2030 put it forth to provide an exception of service, or rather establish the Kenya Investment Authority to provide exceptional services to attract, facilitate, and retain investments in Kenya. This means that there's not only incentives, the Kenyan people are willing to accommodate foreign investment in Kenya. Recently, worldwide trust in Kenya's economic environment has increased, and the Kenya 2030 Vision 2030 identifies wholesale and retail as a priority investment and development sector. Some of the formal institutions that we would have to be involved with in order to establish target in Kenya are listed here, and just the breadth of them indicates that Kenya has a well-established formal institutional structure. Looking at economic data, expenditure by GDP is shown on the left. Private consumption is forecasted to go up slightly. The majority of our customers would be coming from private consumers, and that is a good indication of expected sales. Imports of goods and services are expected to go up, which implies that not only are Kenyans opening up more to and opening up to themselves for imported products, they are less resistant to importation. As we can see here on the origin of the Kenyan GDP, agriculture contributes a substantial amount, and with some growth expected. It is worth to note that since Target intends to enter a grocery market, we have a base of suppliers, indigenous suppliers that we can exploit there. The industry is Also another source of GDP. And what this means is that there are employees within industry which are concentrated in the urban areas that would employed in these industries that would be adding to our consumer base. An important sector is a tourism sector, which is a substantial GDP provider in Kenya, and specifically Target wishes to target these consumers by providing a well-established brand such as Target within their reach when they are in touring the country. The long-term outlook of Kenya is favorable, underpinned by new investment in infrastructure, especially transport and power, pro-market reforms, including deregulation and privatization, and gradual improvement in governance and public sector capacities. The long-term growth prospects are favorable, so comments or declares the Economist Intelligence Unit. GDP is projected to grow at about 6% through 2030. Looking at mass grocery retail data, we can see the forecasts are also favorable, with a rapid expansion expected here in the short term, which would be more of an incentive for Target to try and grasp some of this market, or at least establish themselves and gain those first mover advantages. As we can see, the level of sales at 2.5 billion is not very much compared to Target's current sales data, but it presents an opportunity where our capabilities and resources can be put to good return. However, it is important to consider some of the economic risks presented by Kenya. The global weakness or economic weakness of the recent times has affected Kenya. This is mainly due to globalization that tends to affect the globe as a whole. Emerging economies, which Kenya is part of, do present inherent uncertainty risks with them. Furthermore, according to the World Bank, the Doing Business report of 2011 reported Kenya as ranking 125th out of 183 nations in terms of ease of starting a business, with upwards of 45 different tasks that you have to do before you establish a commercial entity. Takeovers of Kenyan businesses by foreign companies tend to provoke suspicion both in political circles and among the public, and corruption continues to be a problem. However, the government is trying the best they can to mitigate this long-term threat. Considering Target and its capabilities, we recognize that Target mainly offers everything that a customer could possibly need, all in one convenient location. These things include clothes, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, electronics, video games, toys, health, beauty products, groceries, automotive products, sports products, as well as products for the outdoors. This diversity of products is what we want to exploit in Africa, as well as the additional services such as the pharmacies, clinical services especially, which Africa is in dire need of. We could establish these, and furthermore, they would help mitigate some of the stakeholder concerns that might come up. Furthermore, Target has over 25,000 items, and we do compare every price of these items, meaning that we do have inherent capabilities already to do market research as far as pricing and costing to our customers' needs. Also, 2012 marks the 50th anniversary of Target. We already operate a whole host of stores in the United States, with plans to expand 120 to 135 stores in Canada. With this, we think it would be beneficial for us to venture into Africa, as we're venturing into Canada, into these international markets, which would leverage the diversity of markets, and the learning process would probably be the gains from this kind of a learning process would probably be greater. Looking at the resources that I was referring to, 65, almost 66 billion in sales just in the United States, with a net earnings of about almost $3 billion. This means that Target does have the resources to take a little bit of this money, which would not be monetarily very large, and be able to establish some of these first mover advantages in Nairobi, Kenya. Nairobi is Kenya's principal economic, administrative, and cultural center, and is one of the largest and fastest growing cities in Africa. It is also the capital city of the country of Kenya. Manufacturers are concentrated in the city, and it does have communications and transportation, established communication and transportation infrastructure. It is also East Africa's most populous city with 3.5 million inhabitants. It does provide modern amenities such as internet access. It blends people of all cultures and walks of life, which we think is a strength for Target's strategy here, being that the culture of Nairobi as a whole, being a blend of people. These are people used to accepting new and different things. Also important to note that there's an abundant private and public transportation, as well as universities and colleges to provide local and international curricula. These will be important for our management if we for our HCNs or PCNs rather, that we would send over there. And you will ask why we would choose Nairobi. Location is an important factor. Nairobi is a regional hub for the greater East African region, which consists of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. The port of Mombasa directly links Nairobi to the outside to the world through the port of Mombasa. It was also historically established as a hub for regional trade, the ease of transportation and logistics with an established seaport link through the railway, and it has a fledgling younger, more educated population. Our plan of entry then would include, or would start with ascending corporate and legal executive management to establish the business entity, acquire a home country grocer, and obtain the necessary licenses to comply with laws and regulations. Furthermore, we would then start initiating relations with suppliers, as well as logistics capabilities. We would choose, redesign, and carry out a changeover retail location in the business district of the Nairobi city. And while we're doing all this, we would recognize the importance of beginning the broader stakeholder engagement activities to minimize any negative implications. By acquiring an established store, we believe that this would minimize our liability of foreigners. We will be able to leverage the operations infrastructure, such as the location, the suppliers, as well as an initial customer base, and we think that this would minimize stakeholder interference. We would retain the majority or the existing management structure, and we would just overlay this with a hybrid of target and home country nationals at the executive level who would oversee this particular strategy. Our preference would be to provide a mix of home country and third country nationals. We think this diversification would mitigate some of the stakeholder concerns and help diversify our management base anyway. We would also add locally trained management professionals from local universities, as well as retain suppliers, and implement a certification program for them to comply to our standards by scaling or transferring some of the management skills for efficient logistics. For inventory and warehousing, we would acquire through a joint venture one of the established port and inland warehousing companies. We think this would provide an opportunity as a first mover advantage, while we would not be using a lot of capital in this way to acquire allocation to warehouse our inventory, it would open and create relationships if this were to become a bigger opportunity. We think this strategy will be able to establish a target in the capital city of Nairobi, Kenya. We thank you for your time. And some of the sources that we used for our presentation are listed below.